Good morning, everyone. I hope you are well. Welcome to the Business Wealth Show, and this is Thursday. Therefore, it is time for strategic chats. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you are tuning in. If you are watching the replay, thank you for joining me. If you're watching live, hello. Thank you for joining me and tuning in. Let me know you are here in the comments. Give me a hello, give me a good morning or whatever you want in the comments. Let me know that you are tuning in and watching today. I would love to say hello back to you. So this is Strategic Chats, which means it is my open Q&A session. I have no pre-prepared topic for today other than being here to answer the questions that you ask. That means if we get no questions coming through, it becomes a very boring session. Therefore, any questions that you have about your business or indeed about mine, feel free to ask them in the comments. That is exactly what Strategic Chats is for. That is exactly why I come live for these Strategic Chat sessions, is to help and support you with the questions that you have about your business. Good morning, Steve. Lovely to see you on today. I appreciate you joining me. So that is what we are here for with Strategic Chat. So I would love your questions in the comments. One question that I've been asked quite a lot lately is around whether a business can invest in cryptocurrency. That has been a popular question over the last few weeks. So I want to cover that off today. The answer is yes, a business is able to make investments in both tangible and intangible things, and you are allowed to do that. The business would be taxed as a capital gain on any profit that it then makes on the sale of an asset, of any asset, whether that be property, whether that be vehicles, whether that be crypto. So it doesn't matter which asset it is. When an asset is sold in the business, there's capital gains tax implications from the sale of an asset. But you can absolutely purchase crypto or property or anything, any other asset within a limited company structure, if the purchasing is able to be done that way. So, as long as, so for example, if we take property, it might be that actually the limited company would get a mortgage and therefore you're not able to purchase that way. But as long as the purchase part can happen, then absolutely the legal mechanism within the company, within a limited company exists to be able to do that. So that is that one. Eloisa is saying, I saw a question from a Facebook group that I'm part of and curious to know my thoughts. For small business, how much do they have to make before paying tax? Great question. So it depends on the legal structure. In the UK, you would typically either be a limited company or a sole trader. If you are a limited company, then the answer is £1 of profit and you'll pay tax on that. So it's important to remember that tax is paid on profits, not on revenue. And the profits are the revenue minus the allowable expenses that are allowed for tax purposes. And therefore, those expenses are ones which are wholly and necessarily for the purposes of the business. That's the HMRC phrase. And it is the profits. So the income less the allowable expenses that are taxed. And even for a limited company, even £1, even 50p, even 10p of profit is taxable. So there is no lower level below which you do not have to pay tax if you are running your business through a limited company. If you are operating as a sole trader, it is different, because as a sole trader, as a self-employed person, you are subject to the income tax rules rather than the corporation tax rules. And with the income tax rules, you do have your personal allowance that is a tax-free amount. So you can get profit up to, and the personal allowance will, may vary slightly depending on certain circumstances, but up to around 12,000 you can make in profit before you have to then pay tax. That there's a caveat there that if you have other sources of income, that will change, et cetera, but that's the kind of overarching rule as well. So I hope that makes sense. Let's have a look. We've got a question about pool cars. How should a company register the car? How should this be done properly? So the big thing for a pool car and for a car to be classed as a pool car is that it's not available for private use at all. If it is, it's not a pool car. So the car needs to be kept, for example, overnight on the premises. The keys need to be kept on the premises. The insurance needs to be such that it can only be used as a pool car for business purposes. And the car would need to be bought in the company's name and through the company. So you need to make sure that you are ticking those boxes for pool cars, because if not, it will fall outside of being able to be classified as a pool car. If there's any chance in any way that it can be used for personal use, then it cannot be classed as a pool car. I have a small child who's just coming to.
Sweet mom. Yeah. It was a bottle in a cupboard, and Daddy didn't see it, and he knocked it. And there was ginger frost. And a squash flying everywhere.
That's funny.
In a bottle.
She's telling me about a calamity in the kitchen. So in terms of pool cars, we need to make sure that they are kept on premises. The insurance is such that they cannot be used for leisure or anything like that. It is business purposes, and that the keys are kept on the premises as well. So in those situations, then you can say, okay, clearly it's a pool car. It's not being used for personal use. People are not allowed to take it home overnight. And you have those stipulations on it as well. You can even have those stipulations in contracts with your employees, and that will help with the proof of it being a pool vehicle, excuse me, and not a vehicle that is then able to be used in general use. That's the main things that you need to think about with pool cars as well. So can the company register a pool car? Yeah, absolutely. It will have to be registered in the company's name by the company. So yeah, that's how you would do it, is you would have it as the company's. Great question. I've not looked at pool cars for a long time, so that was a good question. Any other questions? Please do feel free to ask in the comments. That is entirely what Strategic Chats is all about, is for me to answer your questions, any questions that you may have about your business or indeed about mine. Please do make sure that you ask those questions, because that is what we are here for today. So thank you for everyone who is tuning in and joining me. You are watching the Business Wealth Show, and this is our Strategic Chats segment where I am here to answer your questions. So this session is entirely driven by the questions asked. I do not have anything pre-prepared for these sessions, so it is entirely up to you what we cover on these sessions. So do make sure that you ask any questions that you have in the comments, and I will cover those off. That is what we are here for today. I will keep talking for a few minutes in the hope that we get some questions in. But if we do not get any questions in, then I will close the session. But I have enjoyed the questions that we have had so far today. There's always a great selection of questions that come through, which I very much enjoy covering off. So thank you for those. And like I say, if you do have any, please do make sure you ask. I'm going to take a drink of my tea as well at the same time. Not at the same time as talking. I can't do that. I remember when I was a kid watching a ventriloquist who used to drink water and talk at the same time. It's absolutely incredible. Let's see, we're getting a question here. With regards to cryptocurrency investment, can you explain the mechanism for doing this? When you invest, you have your own wallet. I don't believe that companies can own wallets as it's linked to an individual. So effectively, the purchase is made through the company bank account, but the currency sits in the director's wallet. Is this acceptable? This is a good question, and actually one I don't know the answer to, because I don't know if there are crypto brokerages that you can set up through a company name. So that's the part I'm not sure about, in all honesty. I'm not sure of that mechanism, because I haven't delved into investing through a company personally. I know that you can from an HMRC perspective. Therefore, I would imagine that there are some brokerages that you can register as a company and do it that way and have it in a company wallet. I would hazard a guess that it's not acceptable to then hold it in the director's name, because in the director's wallet, because that would mean, because you and the company are two separate legal entities. So you're basically then transferring it to a different legal entity, doing that. So I would have said that the answer would be no on that you would need an account in a company name in order to be able to do that, to register as the actual company. I don't know which crypto brokerage houses let you do that. I don't even know if they're called brokerage houses, but I think you probably know what I mean. I don't, Coinbase, et cetera. I don't know if they will allow, I don't know which ones of them will allow you to register a limited company. So I'm not sure of the back end mechanics when it comes to how to physically purchase as a company, but you would need to do it as a company rather than doing it through the company bank account and into the director's wallet. It would need to be legally purchased through the company rather than purchased through yourself, in order to classify as a company investment. In the same way that anything that's purchased through the company, it would need the company's name on the details in order to be a company investment rather than a personal investment. So apologies, I don't know what the back end mechanics of that one are. Let's have a look. Scott is saying, with regard to staff using their own phones and data, what would be better for us to do as a company? Supply a phone or pay an allowance? It's probably easier to pay an allowance, to be honest. There is, there's the bring your own device capabilities. And I would probably be likely to kind of go through that and be using the kind of bring your own device rules, as it were, to do that. I can give you a link. I'm just pulling it up on the rules on bring your own device. Here we go. I'm going to put that link in the comments as well, because HMRC has bring your own device rules, which I'm going to put in the comments there. I don't know if it'll post it. It says can't post comments to all destinations. So I don't know if that has come through or not to you, Scott, but I can always connect with you on that intricacy of that legislation as well. But nowadays, in most instances, it just makes more sense to pay the allowance, and they can use their own devices, typically, unless there's real restrictions on what you want them to access with their work phone and communications. I would still put a communications policy in place around if they're using their own mobile number with clients. Do you want them to withhold that, for example? What does that look like? So you still, even with bring your own device, I would still have a communications policy in place for your team. But I would be tempted to go down the bring your own device route. I think it probably makes the most sense. Let's see. Any inside scoop on the budget? Great question. This budget this year is really difficult to read because we're still, of course, in the middle of a pandemic. We've had the roadmap, but we're not looking to be fully out of this until towards the end of June at the very earliest. Remember, the dates can slip as well. So that's the very, very earliest that we would be expecting. Therefore, it is tricky to read what's going to happen. There have been murmurings of corporation tax increases, however. There have also been murmurings of extending furlough for another month until the end of May, and then having a phased out mechanism from there, similar to what they tried to do last September, October, November time, but obviously didn't work because we came into second wave. But similar to that, we might expect to be introduced as well. So those are the two biggies. We're hoping that they'll keep the reduction in VAT for hospitality going. I think they'd be a little bit crazy not to, because that industry is barely open. And so I think they might need to keep that down to stimulate spending in that industry when it opens again. Those are the main ones. You know, we might expect some kind of, I'm going to use this in inverted commas for anyone who's listening and not watching, correction to directors paying themselves low salaries and a dividend. We might expect something around there. Difficult to know if that will come this time around, but it will come at some point. I know Rishi Sunak has already hinted that that is likely. Yeah, VAT reduction would be critical. Difficult to know if that would be across the board, though, or whether it will just stay in the hospitality and leisure industries. That's about as much as we're able to kind of glean at the moment. It's a really tricky one, in all honesty, because the country is in mounds of debt, and the way that gets paid back is through tax rises, but business is still struggling, and therefore to put tax rises when business is still struggling is a really difficult sell, quite frankly, and it's hard to know what way they'll go. But I think they will start to think about increasing taxes generally overall. So you know, that's kind of my thoughts and views on the budget next week. We'll hear in less than a week, actually, on the 3rd. The 3rd of March is the spring budget, for anyone that doesn't know the date. So, you know, we'll be watching out. And of course, I will be updating you on the relevant things. I'm planning to go live probably that evening to give you a rundown of what's being covered and impacts and those kinds of things, if we've managed to kind of process all those by that point. So watch this space, and I will let you know. I will give you those updates on the budget as soon as we have information coming through, and as soon as we've kind of worked up some numbers as well on that. And I will, as I say, I will come live and I will let everybody know impacts, etc., etc. Of course, clients will let you know as well. But yeah, that's where we are with the budget side of things. Any other questions? Good. I'm glad that was useful. Any other questions? Please do ask in the comments. That is exactly what this session is for. It is for you to ask any questions that you may have. So please do make sure that you do that, and I will happily answer those. I will take another drink of my tea in case we've got any more coming through as well. Let's have a look. I think that I've answered, them all. So I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll be live again tomorrow at 7:30 a.m. Same time, same place. So do make sure that you come and join me. Remember, from next week, we are changing the live schedule. So from next week, we're switching towards the other end of the day, in fact, and I will be live on Mondays and Wednesdays at 3 p.m. We are switching all of that around in the scheduling. So make sure you change those dates in your diaries for my live sessions. 3 p.m. Mondays and Wednesdays is what will happen from next week. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day, everyone, and I will speak to you all very soon. Take care.